Hi, I'm Jason Ramsden, and I believe we can all work on leading a more positive and intentional life. And this show details my journey by sharing my learning, stories, and conversations with guests. If you want to lead a more intentional life focused on being the best you possible, please subscribe today. Now, let's get into today's episode. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whether you're waking up or just going to bed or someplace in between, welcome to today's episode where we're focused on boredom. Now, if you're a first-time listener of this show, we always try to find the positivity or positive side of things in life, and boredom is no different. And I can imagine that you're probably saying to yourself, Jay, there is no place for boredom in our lives. There's no place in boredom for our kids, for me, for my family. Boredom is just not a good thing. There was a time in my life when I was probably right there with you, where boredom is not a good thing. But I'm starting to change my mind about that a little bit. And here's why. With the proliferation of social media, games, streaming, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, whatever it may be, our world today is filled with so much stimuli. We have so much stimulus going on around us in our daily lives that it overworks our brains, it overworks our eyes, our minds, our intake of information. And that's where I'm starting to see perhaps that boredom has a place. Why? Because I believe boredom could possibly be a catalyst for action. That boredom can be a jumping off point for being productive. So how can that be? Let's take a look at boredom from a creativity side. If you are finding time to pause, be inward thinking, to think about what comes next in your life, to think about what you have upcoming and how you're going to tackle those tasks, boredom can actually help as your mind wanders to determine possible solutions. Your mind is open, you have greater creativity, your problem-solving skills become greater when you have time to pause and reflect. And this happens because our minds are not stimulated by something else. By picking up the phone and looking at Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat, by reading an article or listening to an audiobook or even listening to a podcast. We have a clear mind where our subconscious, our conscious, we have so much ability in ourselves to be able to use the power of our mind to process, to think through solutions and alternatives to issues we may be having in our life. Now imagine for a moment if boredom actually allowed us to pursue new goals, new dreams, because boredom is a psychological state of mind where we feel as if we're not doing what we want to be doing. This kind of ties into last week's episode about procrastination, where people who procrastinate are actually super productive. It's just the time in which they get their work done may be different compared to others. But what boredom allows us to do is to consider that in the moment, we're not doing what we want to be doing. We're not pursuing what we want to be doing. So we fall into the trap of boredom, but at the same time, it also encourages us to perhaps shift our goals, shift our projects, shift our mindset around pursuing something that is fulfilling to us. And when you have a moment to pause, reflect, and think without any other stimulus going on, then your mind is open to new opportunities for how you might go about doing things, for new ideas, for thinking creatively about projects that you may have in your life or ideas you want to pursue. And by taking time to pause and do nothing, quote unquote boredom, you can actually improve your mental health as well. Now, if you're curious what I mean by that, let's take a moment to dive into that for a second. How can boredom possibly improve our mental health? Now, our mental health is based upon having a clear mind, a thoughtful mind, and an ability to focus. In the age of information, however, we lose that. We lose that a little bit because our attention is called in so many, or our attention is pulled in so many different directions that we have a scarcity of attention in our lives today. So taking that break to be bored, to be by ourselves, to sit with ourselves for a moment in our thoughts is actually an incredible opportunity for our overloaded minds, our overloaded brains to relax. It actually relieves stress. Boredom can relieve stress. Are you with me on this, or are you against me on this thought about boredom? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So if you could send me an email, jason@positivityonfire.com. Let's have a little discussion. Let's get into this a little bit. I'd love to connect with you, even if it is just to ask a question. Ask a question about this particular episode or other episodes. But I feel like the more we connect, the more we share, I believe we're stronger together than apart. But let's take a little bit of a deeper look into boredom and how it can be purposeful in our lives. So I believe here that pressing that big pause button in our lives, where we step away from friends, where we step away from tech, where we step away from our obligations, and just be with ourselves, whether that is just sitting quietly with our eyes closed, whether that is going for a walk on a familiar route where we don't have to think about where we're going or where we're headed. If you have access to a pool and you like to swim laps, if you're swimming laps and your mind is just there, you're by yourself. There's something about looking inward and you're saying, well, Jay, how's that boredom? I'm doing something. Yes. And you're not doing something where your mind is actively engaged in the lives of others. I'm going to say that again. For me, boredom is stepping away and disengaging so you're not actively involved in the lives of others, involved in the lives of your family who live in your house, involved in the lives of your friends and strangers on social media, where you get caught up in the scrolling fatigue of your life. So just imagine for a minute if you were to turn off your phone and disconnect. And right now I'd like you to think quickly, what are 3 things that you could gain in your life from putting your phone down, pausing, and stepping away from the digital age for 30 minutes? And I know you're probably saying to yourself, Jay, listen, I step away from my screen all day. It's easy. I don't have a problem with it. Really, let's do some quick math. So there's 24 hours in a day. Let's say we sleep for 8 hours. The recommended amount. We'll just call it the recommended amount. That leaves us with 16 hours left in the day. And imagine this, the average time an adult spends on screens, and whether that's at work in front of a computer, on your phone, reading articles, listening to the news, scrolling social media, is 11 hours. 11 hours. That gives us 5 hours, which we're probably doing the laundry, taking the kids to school, bringing them home from school, going to the grocery store, doing odd jobs around the house, taking care of business. And if you whittle all that down, you probably barely have a half hour in your life to completely shut everything down, to turn it off, and to disengage. But I'm going to encourage you to do that. I'm going to encourage you to find 30 minutes in a day where you're not consumed with other people's lives or other people's tasks or things that you have to do for somebody else, where it's just me time. 30 minutes of me time. And in that 30 minutes, I want you to be mindful of what's happening around you. I want you to be present in the moment. And if you find 30 minutes in a day to do this, you're going to have some incredible benefits. Okay? You're going to have improved sleep. You're going to have better emotional stability. And I believe you will find yourself having more energy because you're allowing yourself to take a break. You're allowing yourself to be bored in essence. And what you can see right now, I'm not really talking about boredom, even though that's the concept or the topic for today's episode. But by unplugging and stepping away from tech, being bored in essence will allow you to have better focus, better concentration, and a better lifestyle. Now, how does this live out in my life right now? Well, we'll get into that in just a second, so stick around, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you for sticking around on today's episode about can boredom be good for you? We've been talking a little bit about what it means to be bored, how you can leverage it, how you can use it to step away from tech, how you can step away from life for a minute, how you can disengage and find valuable minutes in your day to re-engage, to recharge, and to re-energize your life. So let's get into the, hey, Jay, do you practice what you preach conversation for a minute? And I do. I try to get up anywhere between 5 and 5:30 each morning. When I rise, I drink a big glass of water. It's super important in the morning to do that. Get your body going. Your body needs it after basically dehydrating all night long. So make sure you get that in the morning. That's what I like to do. I find that it really improves my capacity for thought in the morning. It really helps me get my body moving and going. And once that's done, I jump right into a 10-minute worth of meditation practice. It's a mindful practice that I do each morning. And it allows me to be contemplative about my life, about things that are happening in my life. It allows me to focus on bettering myself, usually a topic each day that is shared by the Calm app. I've mentioned this before in other episodes, but I find that to be a big part of my morning routine. And when that's done and I'm ready to start my morning, I either kick it into yoga, and I wouldn't say yoga is part of boredom. It's part of an exercise program. But some mornings when I'm not doing yoga, I'm just stretching. I have a routine now that I stretch with, and I find that mindlessness, if you will. Yes, I'm doing something, but I'm not engaged in anything that involves audio. I'm not involved in listening to anything or watching anything or hearing anything. It's just me and myself and my body kind of focused on getting the day started. And then next it's off to make breakfast. I have a routine, basically the same breakfast every morning. But when I'm in the moment of making breakfast and kind of going through that routine, sometimes I'm listening to music, granted, I want to do that. Sometimes I'm listening to a podcast. But there are other days when I am just focused on doing the task. It's mindless because I do the same thing every single morning. So there's a routine to it, but it allows my mind to wander into other areas. It allows me to think through creative problem solving, possibly tasks I need to accomplish in the day. It allows me to be focused to get the day started. And I find that hour and a half in the morning, the ramp up to my day, allows for me to be so much more open to possibilities throughout the day. It allows me to have such focus and a clear mindset on how I'm going to approach the day. I don't think I could ever just get up and go to work anymore. I know plenty of people do that. They rise, they make a quick cup of coffee, shower, change, out the door, and go to work. But I think there's something about investing in your morning and really investing in yourself before you get your day started. And in reality, what a morning routine like that does is, I could be considered bored at that point in the day, even though I'm just going through tasks. I'm not actually doing something for anybody else but me. And it really helps improve like the core systems of my life. It helps with my mental stability. It helps with my emotional stability. It helps with my physical and spiritual ability. And then too, it allows me to be a lot more grateful for what I have in my life and how I go about my day. Now, I know there's some people out there who may be listening to this episode and turning it off because they don't believe in what they might call this new age approach to life. But I'll encourage you to think about it. Think through how you can be more mindful in the start of your day, in the close of your day, how you make space for boredom. And I'll call it boredom because it's time for yourself. It's time for you not to be focused on anything else or anyone else but yourself. And think about how much of a better person you would be for others if you actually took care of yourself. If you even found 30 minutes to just be and do something just for yourself each day that didn't really involve turning on a phone, turning on a TV, focused on other people's tasks for you and just live for yourself. Be in the moment and be present. I think that you would find that you would have greater success in life, that you would have better relationships with others, that you would be able to give more to others when you take the time to recharge for yourself. Now, if you have a daily routine that works for you, I'd love to hear what it is. Again, email me, jason@positivityonfire.com. Share. Let's figure out what works for each other, what's best practice, how you can make your life better by starting a routine. If you have questions, I'd love to engage with you, because I do believe that we are stronger together than apart. And before we close today's show, I would just encourage you to be bored. Yeah, I said it. Be bored. Take some time. Do nothing. Sit outside. Be with yourself. Be at peace. Close your eyes. Listen to the birds. Feel the wind on your face. Take a moment to just be. Just be. Be bored. And I will believe you will find that you have a better day, a better life, and a better focus when you find time for yourself. So be well today, my friends. As we close today's show, I just do want to thank you for being here. I say it every episode, but your gift of time does mean the world to me. There's nothing more precious than your time. So sharing a little bit of your day with me is important to me, and I appreciate that. And I also want to remind you to be well, be happy, be you. And until the next time, may your quest for positivity begin today. If you liked today's episode, please go to podchaser.com, search for Positivity on Fire, and leave a 5-star rating and review. For more on my positivity quest, follow me at positively_J on Instagram or TikTok, or engage with the show by visiting direct.me/Jason Ramsden. Have an amazing day.